Welcome everybody to our first time home buying seminar. My name is Joe Grenay and I'm the broker owner of DRG. We are a residential real estate company that focuses in Minneapolis. And again, I'm excited to have you here tonight. We had our first virtual home buying seminar 2 weeks ago and we had a record turnout. So we're excited to have this again tonight. I've got a co-host with me, JJ Ellingson with Leader One Financial. So welcome, JJ.
Thanks for having me. Want to talk a little bit about, about my background, Leader One's, and kind of my first time buying experience. So I'm a loan officer at Leader One. I've been doing this for about 15 years. I've been fortunate enough to be recognized. Some of my biggest honors were Minneapolis, St. Paul recognized me as one of the top lenders in Minneapolis. But I know that's not what we're here for. This is what I do 24/7. I love this. I love helping first-time home buyers. I work for Leader One. Some of you may not have heard of Leader One. We're not like a Wells Fargo that we have banks on every corner. We do mortgages. That's all we do. And our focus is on you. We believe that buying your first home is a unique experience, and what works for somebody else doesn't necessarily work for you. So while I've got you, I want to take a couple minutes. I want to flash back to when I bought my first house way back in 2003. My wife and I were engaged. Next step for us is we're planning our wedding date. We want to buy our first house. First thing I think to do is go to my bank where I have my checking and savings account. I go there, they give me a 4-page application to take home and fill out. And this is before technology is as big as it is. This thing is Greek to me. It's before I'm a loan officer. I can't make out what these things mean, and I'm nervous about whether I fill this out incorrectly and if that impacts me getting approved. So I end up filling it out, send it in, and I wait and wait and wait. Finally, about a week later, I finally hear back and they say you're approved. I get a letter that says I'm approved, but it doesn't tell me anything. What my payments look like, what my down payment is. I'm actually not excited because I'm lost. Fast forward, I connect with somebody that ultimately a couple weeks later meets with me and my wife now, walks us through everything, talks about our goals, talks about payments, everything. I walked out of there. I was excited. This is real. It felt so good. And it was such a contrast between the cold bank experience that I had to what I experienced with the new loan officer. And that's kind of how we approach things. The mortgage industry and buying your first home, I know it can be intimidating, but Joe and I, we're here to kind of soften that, simplify it, and help you navigate that process. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you, JJ, for sharing that story. I have a similar story like that when my wife and I first bought our first home as well too. Went to a home buying seminar just like this. So I can tell you from firsthand experience, I was nervous as well too. Just didn't really know what I didn't know. And hopefully we can alleviate a lot of those fears tonight. So before we get started, for those that are on the virtual seminar right now, feel free to comment below, introduce yourself, and note if you have any questions real time through this seminar, feel free to, in the bottom of your, whether it's Facebook or whether it's YouTube, type in your question and my marketing team will pop up the question in real time. And if it's a mortgage question, JJ can answer that. Or if it's a real estate question, hopefully I can answer that, or we will bottle them up at the end of the seminar and we'll answer them then. So again, thank you so much for coming. JJ, here's some things that I want to cover tonight, and I know you want to cover some of these things as well, so let's kick this off. The thing about buying your first home, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of first-time buyers over the years, and they never know where to start. So I want to make sure we cover that tonight. If you're a first-time home buyer, just where do I start? And then also, what's all the hype about right now? Why is it a great time to buy right now? And then talk about more of the myths of a down payment. Everybody thinks you need to have a 20% down, and we know that's just not the case. And then let's talk about one of your favorite topics, credit. I'll talk about the housing market. You'll talk about the financial market, answer some questions there. And then I know you've got a great tool for them towards the end of the seminar, which is the rent versus own analysis. JJ, anything else that you'd like to cover tonight?
No, I'm excited to go over that stuff.
Great. Well, let's just jump in then. JJ, you've been in this business for well over 15 years. Why now? Talk to the people that are on this seminar. Why now is it a great time to buy your first home?
Yeah, and that's an important piece. Obviously, like you said, we want to talk about how to start the process, but let's talk about why now is a good time. First thing is interest rates. You may have seen some headlines. That's probably one of the most important things. Interest rates right now are as low as they have ever been. This right here, we're just looking at here, since 2016, all the way to current, we're at below 3.26% on a 30-year fix, which is unheard of. If we go back a little bit further, this chart tops out in 2019 at close to 5%. So where we're at now versus where we were at before is an amazing time.
So JJ, pause for a second there. We're looking at this chart. I remember when I bought my first home, and I think I qualified for 7.5%. I think it was a year, probably 2002. And you as a first-time home buyer, you get the best rate that you qualify at that time. And at the end of the day, what's most important is the payment. Talk a little bit about what you do in your consult when you meet with first-time home buyers and you educate people about interest rates and you talk to them about focus more on that monthly payment.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the payment is really important, and that's something that we're going to go through. We're going to break that down, what makes up your payment, so you know what to expect and can move forward confidently in that market when you find that right place. With that said, we should take a look at here. I just talked about rates being as low as they've ever been. I want to at least show you where they've been historically, because if you haven't been paying attention, me telling you rates are low you might not have that perspective. So overall, we've been fortunate since the last decade and now to see where they are. Previously parents were all in the upper single digits to even above 12%. So that's important. Let's take a look at this next slide.
JJ, pause for a second. We've got a question from Lindsay Lopez. She's active duty military, so thank you for your service, Lindsay. Actually, JJ was in the military as well too. She's deployed right now, thinking about buying her first home when she returns back in 2021. Is it a smart time to wait until then to buy, or should she buy now? Just from my perspective, and you can go a little bit deeper on the VA loan. VA loan is the best by far loan program out there that I know of. And Lindsay, first and foremost, again, thank you for your service. Take advantage of that gift that you get. You deserve it. So take advantage of that. But what I would say are you ready? Is it better to buy in 2021 or 2020 right now? I would say, I don't know. I would say when we have a consult, we could do a personal call or a Zoom call, or we can chat over email, depending on where you're at, or you talk to JJ. The more we can understand your needs, goals, wants, and timelines, then from there, we can talk about, is now the best time to buy? Because it might be, we never like to say no. It's more potentially a timing issue. So JJ, talk a little bit more, just briefly for Lindsay, about a VA loan.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay, for the question and your service. Joe's right. VA financing is an amazing opportunity. I believe now is the right time for most people. But like I said in the beginning, it's a very unique to you situation. So I think how I'd answer that is now is the time to have that conversation. And
There you
what
go. I
that
like that.
leads to, we'll find out. But I think you're right to at least start that conversation with us.
So let's reiterate that, Lindsay. If you're still listening, the thing to do now is to start the conversation. We'll figure out buying later, but just start the conversation. So again, thank you for your service. So JJ, I know you were finishing up the topic on rates, and then we're going to jump to credit here in a minute or two. So finish up on rates.
Yeah. So rates, like I said, they're low. I want to talk about the importance of that. So let's fast forward to the next slide here. And what does that really mean? So there's a few things that impact your buying power, how much you can buy. One of those is home prices. So when we're looking at this chart here, what it's showing us is the impact of the increase in home prices. Despite what the news might say, the market has been great, and we're still seeing an increase in home prices. Nationally, on average, 5.7% increase. What that means as price goes up, your buying power goes down on average about $21,300, okay? Now, we've had interest rates decrease to historic lows. And why that's important, it has a major impact. A 0.85% decrease in interest rate will increase your buying power on average by $40,200. The other way we can increase your buying power is with a raise. Most people get a raise once a year, on average 1.5%. That alone increases your buying power about $5,600. So when we look at this, if we assume homes appreciating by 5.7%, rates dropping by 0.85%, and your wage going up 1.5%, we've actually increased your buying power by over $24,000 at $24,500. So the importance of these low rates right now is, I can't emphasize that enough. It's a really good time in that respect.
Yeah, from a housing perspective, when we're talking to our clients, if you're out there shopping for a home right now with these extremely low interest rates compared to last year, you're doing two things. Number one, you're buying a home, the same home that you wanted to buy in 2019, and just your monthly payment is cheaper. So that's number one. Number two is you're spending the same amount of money in getting a better or bigger house. So you can look at it two ways. To me, those are the two paths to really understand and digest the power of extremely low interest rates. Money is at its all-time, I would say, it's just cheap. Money is just so cheap right now. It makes the affordability a lot more attainable for you to buy your first home. So again, we'll talk more about those topics when you either chat with myself or someone on my team or JJ when we do a one-on-one consultation, because we want to customize this to you. So JJ, now let's talk about credit. And I can remember personally when I got out of college, and I was the guy that was suckered into signing up for credit cards because I could get a free t-shirt, and just not really understanding credit. So when I got out of college, I was really nervous that I had a terrible credit. And when I went to that first time home buying seminar, and I met that loan officer, and a couple weeks later, and he pulled my credit, I was actually shocked that my credit wasn't that bad. But the beauty about doing it now, when I did it, was I realized that I didn't have that bad a credit, but he gave me a couple tips so I could fix a couple things when I went to buy my first home, and it put me in a stronger financial situation, and it allowed me to get just a little bit better interest rate. So JJ, talk a little bit more about the credit, the myths, and the fear around credit.
Yeah, credit is an important topic. It's probably a number one hurdle most people have, but that holds them back from jumping into buying their first place. Let's look at credit simply. It's just a measure that banks use to determine the likelihood that you will ultimately pay back the loan, okay? Now, what I want to look at here is the availability of credit, because there's this myth that you have to have perfect credit. I thought that when I went to buy my first house prior to becoming a loan officer, I thought I needed perfect credit. And in fact, I saw a stat the other day that almost 60% of folks that rent think they need a 700 credit score. What we're looking at here in this chart is from 2013 to now, the availability of credit has continued to increase. What's that saying is we're not as strict as we used to be 6 or 7 years ago. If you've had a bump in the road, it might not be a roadblock that you think it is. So the opportunity to finance with less than perfect credit it's now more available than ever. I pulled this chart here from a FICO score distribution chart here that I thought was interesting, and kind of trying to show you guys that the 700 credit isn't needed. So what this is showing us is these are closed loans and credit score buckets. Now there's quite a few people that have great credit, as you can see, but you can also see the percentage of closed loans here. 17.68% of people have scores between 650 and 699, or 8.13 is below 650. So my point to this is credit, don't let it be the roadblock that you might think it is. It's more available than it ever has been. And this is an opportunity during our initial consultation. We're going to look at your credit, and we're either going to say yes or not quite yet. And if we say not yet, that's going to come with a plan. That's one of the things that I've prided myself on is if we can't get you ready now, what do we got to do to get you ready 3 months or 6 months from now? There's a plan, there's a roadmap, and I'm happy to help pave the path for that.
Yeah, JJ, I can talk about that a little bit more from my perspective on the real estate side. We stress here at DRG too, whether you want to buy a home now, 6 months from now, or 2 years from now, doesn't really matter to us because we want to tailor it to your personal needs as the customer. But go through that pre-approval process early. And it will tell you as the customer, hey, I'm doing things right, managing my finances. Or it'll tell me, hey, there's a couple things that I just need to tweak, and now I have time on my side. So when I do go to buy, again, I'm in a stronger position. So we encourage you, if you're thinking about buying, just go through the simple, fast, no-cost pre-approval process with JJ, and it'll open up a lot of doors for you down the road when you go to buy. JJ, let's shift over to the financial market right now. Again, so much information right now in the news from so-called influencers out there right now that are spreading good and bad information. Just talk a little bit more from your experience in the financial market. What's going on out there besides just low interest rates?
Yeah, I think this is an important piece. There's a lot of misinformation out there. We have folks like Susie Orman telling you that now's not the right time to buy. We've got COVID-19 that we've all experienced. Recession talk. So I want to kind of chat a little bit about what the facts are in that, and kind of provide some accurate information versus the misinformation. So one of the things I pulled together here is I was surprised to learn this. The last 5 recessions, only one time have we had a significant home price change, and that was the mortgage meltdown, housing meltdown. Most of us are familiar with that, and that was mortgage and housing created. But outside of that, from 80, 81, 91, and 2001, we've mostly seen improvements or a slight decrease. So the talk right now of COVID-19 impacting people, and a lot of us think that we might see price declines. Historically, that's not the case, and we haven't really been seeing that so far this year. Let's take a look here. The other piece I want to talk about is appreciation. kind of a news thing where there's more doom and gloom out there. But when we look at the experts who are actually in tune with the market and forecasting, most of them forecast out a couple years. These are the leading experts on where property values are going to go. And I found it interesting to look at this. And despite what's going on in 2020, 2021, and 2022, we see property values continue to appreciate. So we combine that with low rates, and the opportunity to buy is, it's one of the best it's been. The other thing I want to quick cover here, a couple more myths. One is employment. Some people call me and they say, well, I'd like to apply, but I just started my job. I just want to clear up the 2-year job doesn't always apply. So when in doubt, just contact us. The biggest myth that I want to dispel right now is the down payment myth. I know most of us assume that you need 20% down. I see that in the news. I can confirm that is not true. You can finance with less than 20% down. If you can pull up, I don't know if you have the next slide there. So you can finance with less than 20% down. Sorry. Most common for a first-time homebuyer, and Joe, you've seen this, is 3% down. And in some cases, we have down payment assistance that you might qualify for, where you can do as little as $1,000 down.
JJ, let's pause there for a second, because I think this is an important topic that we need to kind of debunk. That myth is I need a ton of money to buy a home, and it's just not true. There's a lot of programs out there, like you said, anywhere from 3% down. So if you're going to buy a home that's $200,000, that's $6,000 down. Now, again, you still need to pay closing costs, but if you're a first-time home buyer, there's a high probability that we on the real estate side can negotiate and have the seller pay your closing costs. So again, we'll talk more about those things in our initial consult, either with myself or one of my realtor partners, or JJ can talk to you more about the down payment and the incentives out there in regards to seller paid closing costs. JJ, but just expand a little deeper on, you got the VA loan with that down payment program, talk about the 3% and the Minnesota housing incentives and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Joe. Sorry, my battery's going low. I'm plugging that in as we speak. I'm multitasking.
We're live.
Yeah, we are live. But yeah, there are great programs out there. We touched on earlier, VA, zero down payment assistance. These are things that in the initial consultation, we're going to talk through. Because like I mentioned before, this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It is unique to you, and we want to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, for sure. JJ, I do want to shift because I do not want to forget about this.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit? There's a lot of information on the rent versus own analysis here on the screen that we're going to show in a second. But can you just give some simple highlights? If you're going to work with a first-time home buyer that is renting right now, that's paying a mortgage, it's just not their own. So they're always paying a mortgage, just not their own, so that you give them the ability to do a side-by-side comparison on the pros and cons to renting versus the pros and cons to buying. Talk a little bit high level on your rent versus own analysis.
Yeah, so the rent versus own is something that I do in our initial consultation, specific to you.
Yep.
I get a lot of great feedback on this. This is a form that we're going to use we're going to look through different purchase prices and different down payments. So in this form here, I'm just going to cover the basics. It's a very detailed report that we're going to one-on-one go through, but let's just go high level. So the 3 most common down payments for most first-time home buyers: 20% down if if you're fortunate to either have a gift or have that saved, 3% down, which is very common, and then $1,000 down with the down payment assistance. So what I did here is I used a $300,000 purchase price. And I compared it to somebody that's renting and paying $2,000 a month. What we're trying to do here is, when we do it specific to you, we don't want to talk in generalizations and now is a good time to buy. We want to, base it on facts and information. So we're looking at is the 20% down, 3% down, and $1,000 down scenarios. What does that look like for you if you were to rent or buy 10 years from now? So Maggie, if you can click on the net worth in 10 years, that more info, go down a little bit further. Right there. Yep. Perfect. So what we're looking at here is like Joe said, you're going to make a payment throughout, over the next 10 years, whether it's a mortgage or rent. Over the next 10 years, at paying $2,000 in rent, we assume you're going to pay about $275,000. At the end of that 10 years, your equity position is going to be zero. You'll have a roof over your head, but nothing beyond that. The next scenarios here with 20% down, at the end of it, assuming 2% appreciation, which is historically low, you'll have almost $184,000 in equity. At 3% down, you'll have $148,000 or $145,000 in equity, and 126 or 36. Sorry, my eyes are going bad with the glasses, but $136,000 in equity. We'll talk further about that, but this is one of the things that, I believe that your home is an asset. It's a part of your financial profile, whether you're investing in stocks, your 401k, savings. Housing is a piece of that too. The Federal Reserve says that somebody that owns versus rents has 44 times, their net worth is 44 times higher than somebody that rents. And this is one of the ways they get there. So I'm excited. It's free to walk you through that when we do our initial consultation.
No, good stuff, JJ. And I know that's a ton of information that's on the screen there. The point that I want to make for the people that are watching in this seminar is JJ and his team will customize one specifically for you and set up a call, set up a Zoom call, or do face-to-face and walk you through it. So now, JJ, people are pre-approved. So let's just walk through the process right now, because one of the things that's important to me that I want to get out in this seminar today is, if I'm thinking about buying my first home, where do I start? Yeah, and it can really go let me one thing. It can go two ways. One, you can meet with a realtor first and sit down and talk about your needs, your goals, your wants, your timelines. Or you can simply meet with someone like JJ and get the financing side set aside first, and then meet with somebody like myself or on my team. So talk a little bit about your pre-approval process, JJ, and then we'll shift over to, if somebody's pre-approved, then what's the process from there?
Yeah, so first, most client, the exciting part is finding the right condo or house, right? So a lot of times, Joe, you'll get that first call, but it's important to figure out your financing. We want to make sure when you're excited about this condo or house that you know what to expect. So to start, it's simple. I always recommend that we start with a conversation, Joe. I want to know a little bit more about you, and then I want to talk through next steps. Once we do that, you're going to jump online, fill out an application. It's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. It's very basic information. It's not like when I started and I had to hand write a form that I didn't know what it meant. It's much simpler now. So you'll do that, and then you and I will meet. I'll go through your options, and you're hopefully pre-approved at that point, or you have a game plan of how we get you pre-approved. So we've done that. You feel good. You know what to expect. Then we're going to, ideally, you're going to go talk to Joe. So Joe, can you talk about, a little bit about the Minneapolis market and mostly what they can expect? Now I'm pre-approved. What does the process look like for me meeting with you and figuring out what I'm going to buy and where I'm going to buy and all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And to take a step back, I just want to reiterate to the buyers out there, the people that renters that are thinking about buying, it shouldn't be a scary process. JJ will send you a simple link, fill it out within 48, 72 hours. He'll have a conditional pre-approval back to you, and then he'll set up a call and he'll simply walk through your options for you and answer all your questions, because I guarantee you, you'll have many, many questions just like I did when I was buying my first home. So congratulations, you're conditionally pre-approved to buy a home. Now what? So what we like to do at DRG is, before we throw you in the car, we like to invite you to the office or do a Zoom call. You get to meet me, we get to meet you, learn a little bit more about our company. What does it mean to work with a realtor? What services do we offer? So you really know what you're getting into. How much do we make? How does money flow back and forth? Just so we're crystal clear, transparent, everything above the table, so you know what you're getting into. And then from there, we dive into your needs, your goals, your wants, and really the timelines of what that home looks like. So whether you want to be in Minneapolis or whether you want to be in the first ring, second ring suburbs, the housing market is very dynamic now, and it's always ever changing. DRG focuses in Minneapolis, so we do condos, lofts, townhomes, and single family homes. There's a lot of great agents out there that do the suburbs. Right now, the state of the market today is ever changing because of COVID. Thank God that interest rates are so low. It's keeping buyers out there. There's certain markets right now, like the Northeast market's doing really well. Parts of South Minneapolis are doing really well. Like the St. Louis Park, first ring suburbs are really strong right now. But there's parts of the condo market that are really strong as well too. Some of the upper end bracket stuff right now is a little soft.
Joel, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
On the market, what are you seeing as far as, are there multiple offers still? What does that look right now?
A multiple offers when there's two or more buyers wanting to purchase the same home at the same time. And in certain neighborhoods and certain markets, there are multiple offers right now. So we have specific strategies that will help you win those multiple offers. But one of the things that we really want to focus on is having a very strong pre-approval letter from your lender, like JJ, helps you win those multiple offers scenarios. So those scenarios we will talk to you about and consult you on in our consultation. So if we come up against multiple offers, we have a plan to attack that situation. So that's a great question, JJ. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on at DRG is slowing down to speed up in regards to the neighborhoods. Now, I remember when I bought my first home, I was very laser focused on the home, but I forgot to really focus on the neighborhood. And what we like to talk about is when you come home from work on a Wednesday night, or you wake up on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, what do you want to do? Do you want to walk around the lakes? Do you want to go to cafes? Do you want to jump on your bike and hit trails? Do you want to walk your dog in a neighborhood full of other homes like yours? So we really spend a lot of time trying to understand your lifestyle besides the house. Once we understand the lifestyle, we can then start talking about different neighborhoods. And through that, we will then start drilling down to the housing stock that fits your, again, criteria, for you or your family. So that's the approach that we take in our process to help understand what you're looking for. So here's our buyer timeline. So we start, number one, with just a simple and fun meeting at DRG. Meetings now are a little bit different with COVID going on, but we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls where we talk again about your desires. We do the market updates. We talk about the timelines. We make sure you know where to start if you're not already pre-approved. Really, it's about laying out a game plan. So number two, the fun part really starts to begin around the search. So we set you up on a customized search based off your needs. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1 to 2 parking in this neighborhood within this price range. We have the ability as a realtor to give you the most accurate and up-to-date information coming from our multiple listing service. You can't get that on Zillow. You can't get that on realtors.com. You can't get that on Trulia. It comes right from our MLS. We can set you up on a custom home search to send you homes that are most like what you're looking for. And one of the things that we like to talk about and pride ourselves on, because we're focused in Minneapolis, is about 50% of the homes that we sell are actually off the market. So the more we can understand what you're looking for as a buyer, we can make sure you're also in that conversation as well too, of homes that are off the market. So once you're pre-approved, so once you have your custom search and you start finding homes that you actually want to see, then we get out there and start doing the showings. And whether you find a home day one or it takes you 3 months, it doesn't matter to us. We'll move as fast or as slow as you want to go. And typically what that looks like is we'll meet you down at our office and we can drive in the same car. We can do masks, we can be sanitized, all that stuff with COVID now, or we can drive separate, but we'll take you out, we'll do the home search, we'll talk about the pros and cons to that home. And what we really like to do in the home search is, let's say we're taking you out and showing you 5 in one day. Our objective is to find one home that day that you like the most. And if you like that one the best, maybe it's a home that you put an offer on. Maybe it's a home that we keep as number one. So when we go out next time, we're comparing all those other homes that we're looking at to that one. So again, whether it takes us 1 showing or 30 showings, we will be there by your side to make sure you're represented and finding the home that fits your needs the most. So number 4 is, once you find that home, we go back to the office as your real estate professional and we start doing research on that home, which tells us what we think from a professional standpoint, what you should offer. Now understand, we will present you as the buyer what we think you should offer, but ultimately you are so-called the boss and you can offer whatever you want, but we'll professionally position it and structure it in a way that we think, based off your needs, your goals, your wants, and your timelines, that you have a high % chance of getting it. So once we put the offer in, the negotiation starts, and then once we actually get the offer, then we can make it contingent on things like home inspections and financing. And those things we'll talk a little bit more in depth on the one-on-one consultation. Next step is the underwriting. So you've got the home, then we send that purchase agreement over to JJ and his team, and they start doing the ever so much fun underwriting. So all the information that you applied online to with JJ, his team will verify all that information to make sure that you're clear to close for this loan. Stage 6 is a final walkthrough. That's where we meet you at the home, maybe a week, maybe a few days, sometimes even the day of closing, to make sure we cross our T's, dot our I's. If there was any inspection items that we needed to fix, we make sure before we go to the closing that those items are taken care of. And last but not least is number 7, and that's the closing day, where, well, in normal times, we would meet you at a specific title company, and it would be you, the loan officer, JJ, your realtor, the closer, the sellers, and then their side. But nowadays, we do a lot of things different in regards to closing, just to be safe and responsible. So all in all, we have a 7-step process, and when we meet in our consult, we'll walk you through those 7 steps, because there's a lot of underlining steps and stages within those 7 that you'll have a ton of questions on. And that's what we pride ourselves on in our consult, is to give you enough information stage by stage so you can be best set up for success. So JJ, any topics? Because I know we've sent you a ton of clients that have gone through our process, and vice versa. Any other feedback on that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, though, when you mentioned that we want to slow down to speed up. I think going through your process and getting pre-approved, doing that stuff right up front and slowing down to do that, I think allows you to move a little faster once the right stuff comes along.
Great. Thank you, JJ. So as we wrap this up, again, I want to open up if we got any questions and answers. We've got maybe 5-10 more minutes, but JJ, any closing words from your perspective that you'd like to end tonight's seminar on?
Yeah, so, we've talked about interest rates being very low, which makes purchasing it more affordable. We've talked about the direction of the market. Despite the news with the doom and gloom, we're actually seeing home values go up. We've talked about credit being less restrictive than ever before. So those roadblocks might just be speed bumps now. So I believe in homeownership. I believe now is an amazing time to look at this. And I would encourage you to start that process, because we're either, 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to have one of two conversations. We're either going to talk about how amazing it is, you love your home, or maybe you're upgrading, your net worth is increasing, or we're going to talk about, I still haven't started, I wish I would have started. The start is easy. It's just a phone call, an email to me or Joe, 5 to 10 minute application. It doesn't cost or commit you to anything. I just encourage you to at least explore it right now.
Yeah, great point, JJ. If can you close with just one tip, one nugget? If you could speak to everybody on this seminar one-on-one, what's the one closing tip that you would like to make sure that they got out of tonight?
Yeah, so I like that question. Obviously, I encourage you to start, right? That's tip one, but we've talked about that. The other piece of advice I would give anybody that's renting now, before you contact me or while you're working with me or Joe, think about what you can afford on a monthly basis, whether that's $1,500 a month or $2,000. Think about that, because as we get out there, it's exciting and you're seeing these nice places, but we want to make sure you're comfortable and in a great position to succeed. So think about that. It's tip number.
And I would echo on that. And if I can extend one tip, again, I've been doing this for 15 years, is number one, don't be intimidated about this process. JJ's a very likable guy. I've got a very likable team. We will, again, move as fast or as slow as you want to go. We want to give you our 15 years of experience in this business to give you the knowledge. So when you're ready, you feel comfortable and you know what to do. So my theme is just start, get pre-approved, or reach out and set up a call with myself, set up a call with JJ, and let's just have a conversation. And that will open up a lot of doors. And again, like I said earlier in this conversation, I don't care if you want to, unless you want to buy a home now or 2 years from now. It really doesn't matter to me. I can put an asterisk on there right now and say, if you can buy a home, it's an amazing opportunity with extremely low rates, and people really should look right now to see if they can. So let's close this out. JJ, again, thank you for being a part of the seminar again tonight. Thank you for all the effort that you put in. Thank you for Dylan, who had a good comment, and Lindsay that had some good comments. Yeah. So any final questions? And if not, my marketing team will reach out to you guys probably by tomorrow morning. And again, in that email, you're going to get an opportunity to reach out and set up a call with myself if you want to talk more about the housing market, or if you want to talk more about getting pre-approved in the financial market, where you can talk to JJ and his team. So again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Spread the word to some of your friends that didn't join this seminar, because we're going to have one, I believe, next Tuesday night. So I'd love to keep this going. So thanks again for joining.
Thanks.